ശ്രീലകം കേരം തിങ്ങും പാവന ശ്രീലകം കേരളം മോഹനം കേരളം മോഹനം സസ്യശ്യാമള കോമളം ഞാറ്റുവേലപ്പാട്ടുയരും പുണ്യാലയം കേരളം മോഹനം സസ്യശ്യാമള കോമളം ഞാറ്റുവേലപ്പാട്ടുയരും പുണ്യാലയം കേരം തിങ്ങും പാവന ശ്രീലകം കേരളം മോഹനം കേരം തിങ്ങും പാവന ശ്രീലകം.
Pachupadam, Kutukudam, Malayalam FM 104.6, Karalam Kelkam.
We have Christopher Luxon, leader of opposition and leader of National Party and MB for Botany with us. Chris will be sharing a bit about himself, his plans, his party's plans for our country. Shall we hear straight from Chris?
Hi, well, firstly, great to be with you. Fantastic. I'm looking forward to our conversation and the interview.
Oh, thank you. Chris, you have visited India maybe 15 plus times, probably a record visit by a non-Indian from the Beehive. Have you been to Kerala, down south of India?
I haven't been to Kerala. No, I haven't, and I'd love to go. And my wife and I often say we'd love to take a train trip through India for 3 or 4 months.
Oh, great.
So maybe when I retire from politics, maybe that's what we'll do. But I did spend time in India because of Hindustan Lever. I worked for a company called Unilever, and that was our business in India. So I would go to Mumbai, typically there. And then when I was at Air New Zealand, when I was the CEO, I was often dealing with the CEO of Air India, more in New Delhi. So so it's a great country, and it's a country that is incredibly diverse, has amazing talent, and as we've seen with the Indian community in New Zealand, frankly, they've done such an incredible job and been such great citizens. They've come to New Zealand, given up their language, their friends, their culture, come to our country, worked incredibly hard, 2 or 3 jobs to get that first business or that first house. Pay their taxes, raise kids, get their kids to school, fantastic citizens, great role models. So I think New Zealand's a much better and a much richer place because of the contributions of the Indian community over a number of decades.
Great, glad to hear. Chris, in your mid-40s, you have grown up to the peak of the corporate career with immense international exposure, business qualification, and you also have a proven track record of implementing stuff. You are a problem solver. Problem solver. You could have grown up further, climbed up further in the career ladder and become a world-class business leader like Christopher Liddell or Jamie Dimon. So what made you to take a decision to swirl to serve the people?
Well, it's pretty simple, really. I mean, I feel incredibly blessed to be a New Zealander. I think I had a great Kiwi upbringing. It served me well, enabled me to go out in the world and do well for myself. But I want that for every Kiwi kid in New Zealand. And I think New Zealand is the best country on earth. I think we have huge potential ahead of us. We have smart, intelligent, creative people. We are in the middle of the Asia-Pacific region where there's huge opportunities for New Zealand products and services. We have a liberal democracy, and we just have so many natural advantages. But if I'm really honest, I take a step back and I think, well, we're actually not realising all that potential, and we're not really solving our problems, and we're not really maximising the opportunities that we have. And so, I'm someone who spent my whole career sorting things out and turning things around and getting things done. But you do it with, through and for people, and that's really what I want to do with New Zealand as well. I think it's a great country, but I think we are so far off track and we're going in the wrong direction. and I want to get us back on track.
Great. And as part of your career in Unilever and Air New Zealand, you have traveled across the world. You lived in multicultural communities and societies, but you were successful enough to keep hold of your values and faith. So, can you share to our younger generation how, once they come from different parts of the world, how they can still be rooted in their culture and faith?
Yeah, look, I think, I always felt my New Zealandness was actually a real competitive advantage, and it grounded me in some really common values, about fairness, about equality, about meritocracy, that you work hard. So those are values that I kept with me, and as Amanda and I had our children overseas, we made sure that those values were transmitted to our kids as well. But also part of actually that experience of being an expatriate or traveling the world or moving to a new country like many of the community is you bring the best bits from your old life to where you're going, but you also adopt the new things as well. And I think that's the trick, is that I learned that when I went to Australia, it was actually slightly different culture, and I had to take the best things out of that experience. When I went to England, in a business sense, it was a lot more about intellectual thinking and logic that you had to really embrace. When I went to America, it was a lot more about execution and getting things done. And so you take on the best bits of the cultures that you're going to, as well as keep a sense of who you are from your home place as well. And so I think I was successful because I managed to do that blending of both those things well, which was, had a good sense of who I was and my identity as a Kiwi, but actually could take the best bits of those respective country experiences I had as well and build that into my thinking and game as well. And I think that's my advice to anyone coming to New Zealand as a new New Zealander is, bring and be anchored in your own identity, your own community, your own culture for sure, but also be curious to reach out and find the best bits of the new culture that might be better than where you've come from as well.
Oh, great advice to the younger generation. Little bit about your family.
So I met my wife Amanda when I was 15. We were dating at 19 and then married at 23. And on January the 8th, 2024, if I'm lucky enough to win the election, it'll be my 30th wedding anniversary.
Oh, great.
And we have two children, William, who's 24, and Olivia, who's almost 22. And so we're in that emerging empty nester phase of life where our kids are independent and out there in the world, and hopefully we've raised some fine young people and with a fine set of friends. And so it's been a fun journey as a family to actually raise our kids overseas, but we didn't have a lot of family support. So Amanda and I are a very tight unit, and the kids, the four of us together, as we lived and worked around the world together. So it's been fun, and I think the parenting journey is certainly one of the most challenging, but also the most rewarding journeys we go on. Yeah. Amanda and I have sort of always had a pretty simple philosophy, which is 0 to 5 we're caretakers, 5 to 12 we're cops laying down the boundaries, 12 to 18 we moved to coach mode. And then at 18, we're now full-time consultants. So, you're independent, and we've hopefully trained you right and done all those things, and we're available 24/7, but you're now in charge of your own life as you go forward. And so I think for parents, making those changes through that mode is sometimes challenging, particularly I observe for dads who sometimes can't get out of cop mode when they need to at times. But that's been really fun. And then I'm very fortunate. I'm the oldest of 3 boys, and I'm very close with my 2 younger brothers. And my parents had me really young, really, and they're awesome as well. So very good, close family relationships are important. Yeah.
Nice. I'm sure with your wife Amanda, you have an incredible support system within your family.
Yeah, we do, and we have a good circle of friends as well. And Amanda's had some, she was a teacher, and then she was a consultant, and so we were, juggling sort of everything, at different times. And there were times when, she was moving forward with her work, and we were sort of supporting each other. But we've got a great set of friends and family around us, which is really important in this job because. And it's important because you want people who you're in a relationship with because of who you are, not because of what you do, And so it's just my job, what I do. And that's the friends and family that you have that you do life with, which is important.
Exactly. Chris, you have been a great advocate of cultural alignment, especially in the workspace, to engage with the overseas resources. What are your thoughts to achieve this in New Zealand, where we have around 250 plus ethnicities?
Yeah, look, I mean, we want to, the fact that people have come from different identities or different communities and different countries. I represent botany, and in botany, 55% of the people that live there were born overseas. And so that is the real New Zealand, very diverse community. And that is a fantastic community, because the thing that's actually uniting people, whether you've been here 4 months or 4 years or 40 years, is that people want to work hard to be able to get ahead. And that's why people left their countries and came to New Zealand, because they think it's a place that they can work hard and do well in. Or they think it's a place that it didn't matter what their caste or their status in life was, but it's actually about where they're going to. And that's the promise of New Zealand that we've got to make sure is there. But I think we should respect each other's individual communities and diversity, and we should really value that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we're also all Kiwis. That's the thing that unites us all. And so we're all in it together. And so it's really important that we do have high levels of social cohesion. We are going to need more immigration going forward in New Zealand as well. And so we want to be really good at welcoming people in from different backgrounds and different perspectives, treating all of us as equal citizens, equal under the law, one person, one vote, and actually understanding and respecting each other.
Great. From a business growth perspective, you always urge us to be retrospective. Can I ask you, what would we have done better? What have been done differently as a country?
Look, I think the last 6 years there has been economic mismanagement on a scale we haven't seen before, and that has caused huge pain and suffering for New Zealanders. And I think about the Kiwis that are now dealing with high interest rates, that are struggling to pay their mortgages. I think of the Kiwis that are dealing with rapid increases in rents, that can't afford the rent, that end up in a motel or an emergency housing situation. I think about New Zealanders and parents that I've even met that have said they've had to skip meals because they can't afford food, or they don't use it at a food bank when they never thought they'd need to use the services of a food bank. So really the government's policies around all the spending that they've had, there's been an 80% increase in spending, government spending. And remember, it's your money, it's the taxpayers' money, that's not the government's money. And a lot of it's been wasteful, and we've got nothing to show for it. And as a result, but all that spending has led to inflation. All that inflation has then lifted the prices of everything, but it's also lifted interest rates. And those higher interest rates have now put the economy into a recession, and that causes a risk of rising unemployment. So really the problem has been an economic one, and we need to get our economy rebuilt and fixed so we can lower the cost of living, get inflation down, get interest rates down, get the economy growing again, because that's the thing that makes the biggest difference to the most amount of people in the fastest amount of time. And so that really is job number one for me, because I have to get the economy rebuilt so that we can actually afford the public services and health and education and law and order and police that we want to see happen in New Zealand.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for having with Malayalam FM.
It's great to be with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, to say we've got a great country, and yes, we've got some challenges, but we can do this. We can work it out, and if we rebuild the economy, restore law and order, deliver better health and education, we'll get ourselves back on track, which will be great.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate it. Namaskaram, ala Malayali kulkum onasham sakal, Malayalam FM, patupadam.
Kottukudam.
Great.